Today on Draw Along, we draw the animal that's stuck in the 80s, Beachbody Gorilla. Now let's get started. The first thing that we're going to do when we're starting this character is get the big shapes of the body down. Now the head's going to be connected to the body, so we're going to get a bit of a weird shape to start this off, but we start off by making it look like a bit of a teardrop, and the bottom we're just going to do a slight arc because that will be where the waistband of our gorilla's shorts will be. Now we're going to start by making the arms. We're going to make it a bit thicker at the top where it connects with the body, and we're going to taper it down to be a little bit smaller at the wrist. So we're going to end up with one large arc near the top and a smaller one near the bottom. Because the gorilla is going to be holding up a weight, we're going to kind of repeat the last steps that we did, except we're going to do it in an opposite order. We're going to have a small, tight curve near the top, and then underneath it, a bigger curve. And remember, we want to have it taper, so getting smaller near the wrist and bigger as it connects to the body. Just to make our drawing look a little bit weirder than it already is, we're going to put in some legs, and we're going to start off by making a curve. So we're thinking about the back edge of this leg, and we're going to leave a bit of a space underneath. So we're not quite connecting it up, but that'll start off our leg for us. Now we're going to put our foot in. It's going to be a bit of a weird curve, and then it's going to stop, and then we're going to add another curve to it. But again, don't be afraid to erase things if they don't look correct. You'd be surprised how many times I have to erase. Next, we're going to finish off the other leg by making some slightly curved lines. So if you look at the top, it'll be a slight curve, and we're going to kind of do that going down. So it looks like a slightly bent leg. For the bottom of the foot, we're going to go with a straight line because it'll be flat on the ground. And then we're going to bend a line up from the tip of that to connect up with the leg. You can already see we got most of the major shapes down, so make sure you're happy with these before we start to go on to the next steps. A quick line will finish off the lower part of the gorilla's body. The next thing I want to do is start putting my hands in, but before I can do that, I need to think about how those hands connect to the arms. So because I want the gorilla to look like he has some fur, I'm doing some slight half arcs around the end of the bottom hand to kind of make it look like fur. We'll be doing the same thing to the top hand, and I want you to notice that when I'm making these half arcs, they're all going to be different shapes and sizes, and they're all not going to end at the same line. Some will end up higher, some will end a bit lower. One thing that I like to do when I'm drawing hands is to kind of draw in the palm part, so the part of your hand that doesn't have fingers, and then build my fingers off of that. So that's what I've done right here. In the back of my mind, I'm thinking I want these fingers on my gorilla to be curved in a bit. So I'm not making them the full size that a gorilla's finger would be. Instead, I'm making them kind of a little more stubbier than they would actually be in real life. To finish off his hand, I'm going to draw the thumb on the side edge of the square that we had drawn in. And remember, it doesn't need to be huge, just a little bit of a bump. Our top hand's going to be a bit more difficult, but in order to help me place where I want these hands, I'm going to first start building the front part of the weight, and we're just going to simply do that by drawing out a circle that sort of overlaps with part of the arm. To make the thumb of the gorilla, I'm going to start and make a little bit of a spiral. Now comes the tough part of the drawing, how to make that top hand. When I'm doing this, I'm almost envisioning little cocktail hot dogs wrapped around a stick. So that's what I'm kind of trying to do here. And you'll notice they're just slightly curved arcs. And because it's a cartoon, we're just going to stay with 3 fingers. We want to see a bit of the handle sticking out behind the hand, so we're going to draw part of a cylinder there. Now we just need to draw a circle behind the cylinder, and we now have our finished weight. Now that we have most of our big shapes done, I'm going to start by putting in some detail now. So I'm going to put in the nose first, and I'm almost going to think of starting by making like a little upturned pug nose, and I'm going to put in some nostrils that are just simply little tiny arcs. Now to get the gorilla's sunglasses. We're going to start with the straight line and a couple of big curves connected to that nose. But if you wanted to change it up and give him some even funner sunglasses, feel free, make it your own. Because gorillas don't really have big human ears, we're just going to draw some very, very tiny gorilla ears. So we're going to start by making a C shape with another C shape going the other way inside. Now we're thinking about putting a rectangle that connects the glasses, but it's going to tuck a little bit behind that ear. So we're going to go down and connect up with the ear and then go from the other side of the ear back into the sunglasses. To draw the gorilla's face, we're going to make a big circle that's kind of pulled down and elongated. Again, it might take you a couple cracks at it to make it look just right. But if we get the big shapes down, the things like the mouth and stuff will be really easy if we get this right. Now we're going to draw a tiny line coming from underneath the gorilla's nose to make the philtrum. That's that little indent between your nose and your mouth. And now it's time to draw your best gorilla mouth. I made it look like he was grunting a little bit, so I drew a straight line down and then kind of had it curve up so it looked like he was only showing part of his teeth, and then just added a little line at the other side to kind of show the crease of the mouth. A couple straight lines down, and now he's showing his teeth. Even though it looks like the gorilla's head is connected to the body, I still wanted there to be some separation, so I used some arced lines to kind of make it look like some fur around his jaw. Just to reinforce that our gorilla is fluffy and furry, we're going to add some more fur lines, so some big arcs around the elbows, and I'll also be putting them around the knees. Because a lot of the shapes on this gorilla are soft, I decided to soften it up with a couple of lines near the top to kind of make his hair similar to the elbows and the knees and the wrists. Now it's time to make the gorilla's outfit. When I'm drawing this, I'm trying to think about how this fabric would actually move around my gorilla, like my gorilla was a 3D object. So I'm thinking about the curves, how it would go around each of the arms, how it would go around the neck, and then after that, how it would kind of fall straight down. And then when we draw the underside of it, how it would actually be a bit of a curved line instead of a straight one. So we're still not done with the body of the gorilla. I did a quick V shape on there to make it look like he had some muscles, and again some more hair strokes in there, so the same arcs to make it look like there's some separation. So if you look at a gorilla, there's some furry parts and then there's some skin parts. So right now the middle of the stomach would be the skin part and the outside of the body would be the furry part. What would an 80s inspired gorilla be without some short shorts? So to do this, I started drawing some shorts that were slightly bigger than his legs and making sure that they still kind of follow the contour of the leg and also meet up with the actual hips. Working our way down the gorilla, one of the last things that we need to do is add in the shoes, and that's mainly done by creating a couple of quick lines around the ankles of the gorilla, and also for the sole of the shoe, some quick lines that kind of mirror the lines on the bottom of the shoe. I still wasn't happy with the level of detail on the shoes, so I decided to add some circles right near the heel of each of the shoes and another line that kind of goes around the edge of the ankles. The last thing that I'm going to do to our gorilla is add in some bows, so some shoelaces almost. So we're going to do those by making some figure eights with two tails coming out of it. We're going to do one on each shoe and then one on the shorts in the front. Now comes one of the final parts of our gorilla. We have a whole bunch of lines that we don't need anymore. And instead of telling you each one that needs to be erased, I'm just going to put a whole bunch of arrows up on the parts that you should be erasing in order to finish your gorilla up. You can also just look around and decide for yourself which lines need to go and which ones can stay. Thank you for watching this episode of Draw Along. If you want to catch more of these videos, make sure you hit the subscribe button so you know when I'm putting out new content. Also, let me know in the comments below what are some things that you want me to draw in future episodes. See you next time.